Hey there, everybody. Welcome to the inaugural Mildly Competitive Podcast. This is a podcast focused around the competitive Pokemon scene and being mildly competitive inside of it. Today, we're going to go ahead and go through a roundtable discussion of everyone who's going to be on the podcast, maybe a Fresno recap, some Paldeo bets, a bug of the week, and some interesting lines and decks. To start us off, I'm going to go ahead and have the man of the hour, Dyson, start us off with who he is, what he plays, and his favorite deck.
Hey everyone, my name is Dyson Uptouch. I'm a mildly competitive Pokemon player, and my favorite deck is Arceus Garantina.
Hey guys, yeah, I'm DJ with Mildly Competitive. I would like to say my favorite deck right now is probably Meowscarada. Been playing that on live right now and been loving the action, and I'm super excited for this new format.
All right, let's kick it over to Daniel.
Hi, I'm Daniel, also with Mildly Competitive. My favorite deck right now is the one I'm looking at as I play live while we're doing this podcast. That would be Ting Lu.
Ooh.
All right, let's kick it over to Eric.
Hey, I'm Eric, part of the Mildly Competitive Podcast people as well. My favorite deck right now is probably Arc Umbreon Duraludon, because it has so many answers.
And over to Trenton.
Hi, I'm Trenton. My favorite deck at the moment is got to be Gardevoir, just because of how many answers it has to everything.
That's the reason.
Yep, that's the only reason.
And
don't look any further at all.
And I'm Casey, also with Mildly Competitive, and my favorite deck at the moment, probably Lost Box Goodra.
Is it really still a deck?
No, it's not really a deck. Okay, and with that, we had a couple people heading down over to Fresno and do decently well. Maybe had a stream appearance or two. There was only one. So I'll go ahead and kick it off to DJ and Dyson to kind of recap Fresno and what their experience was like.
Yeah, I'll kick it off first in that one because Dyson definitely started out hotter than I did. It started off the day 2-0, playing Arceus Duraludon with a Espeon VMAX tech for the Lost Box matchup. Round one, I saw Urshifu and Teleon. Duraludon just dominated that matchup. And got it 2-1. First game, he got it. I didn't get an arch start. It was just solo Dura, and I tried to solo attach. But eventually he found two waters, and Teleon got the knockout. But games 2 and 3, got the arc soon enough. Either turn 1 or turn 2 Trinity Nova, or turn 1 Trinity Charge on the Dura, and it carried me the matchup. The second matchup I played against Lugia, and that was a 1-0 victory. I got game 1. Ended up lost seating his Urshifu mid to late game, and he realized he didn't have an answer and went to game 2, and I can feel like he got a better start and decided to play slower to force a tie out of it. But it got to a point where he burned too many resources. I forced a switch. He burnt energies, and then I brought up his Serena with a solo Dura. I just had a solo Dura in play, hitting 220 on all his Pokemon, and time was called, went into turns, and he couldn't find the additional energies to knock out my bench, or my Duraludon. And then,
real quick on that one, do you think if it went on further in that game 2, he would have been able to cinch it, or do you think he had that one in the bag?
No, I definitely had it in the bag. He had burned too many of his energies. He took out the first Dura with the Urshifu VMAX. And then after that, he just completely ran out of gas. I was able to Charon's Care my Arceus, so it was just a solo Dura.
Okay, yeah, nice.
Yeah. And he had to get through it through a second Urshifu VMAX, and he already played 2 Urna Vitalities, 1 discarded with research and 1 to actually get the knockout. So, I didn't know if he played a third or a way to get, the third energy requirement, but I think once he figured it out, the game was decided.
Okay.
Yeah, and then no, I saved the combo. I knew to play it into that. So definitely synergy game 1 for me. So thanks for that, Tech. Yes, and game 3 played a mirror. I had the Espeon Tech, but he had the Umbreon. he was able to get Trinity Charge first. I stumbled on the first turn, so I went to game 2. And then game 2, I mismapped my energies, and I wasn't able to attack with Dura. I had 2 steals and a fighting and prize, and my first Trinity Nova, I split the energies on Dura. Because he had already had a Duraludon set up, and I didn't want to get a boss KO on the one that had 3 energies, so ended up scooping that game. Close matchup, but he definitely had already played 2 mirrors prior to that, so he was kind of keen on the matchups.
He's well oiled into it.
Yeah, he was well oiled. Yeah, he knew the exact plays to play. He also played the Moon Badge on his Umbreon too. I made sure to point that out, like respect. Okay, Moon Badge is, if it's attached to an Espeon or Umbreon, it's unaffected by supporters.
Yeah.
So it's like the Poncho. Yes. So he just used it to protect his Umbreon from being bossed up and KO'd. Round 3 after that, or round 4 after that loss, I played against Arceus Giratina. Game 1, he had won the flip, so he got to V-Star first and set up a path. He got game 1. Game 2, I was able to go first. Path bump, Arceus V-Star, set up my Duraludon, and then I just forced him into a position where his Giratina wasn't one-shotting, and I won the prize trade. And in game 3, close matchup, I decided to have my 2 attackers be Espeon VMAX and Duraludon. I knew to do the Espeon VMAX because he was avoiding attaching DTEs to his second Arceus. It was all basic grass and psychic. There was a turn where he had like 10 energies in play, and I had knocked out his Arceus with my Espeon, but my sleeves had split when shuffling, and I forgot to attach the V-Guard energy. He kind of forced the action. After realizing he attacked, he was able to attach Belt to his Giratina, one-shot my Espeon, and that ended up being the game.
Brutal.
Yeah. So that was a tough loss. I mean, that guy, his name was Jackie, right? He'll come up later. But, it was close games. I told him, good games, and he was definitely sweating. Definitely if that V-Guard was attached, it'd be a different day. And then finally in round 5, I played against Miraidon. The guy was 2-2. Oh, no. He went second and hit 4 energies on 2 jerk generators. Going second. Knocked out my Arceus. I was like, all right, let's go to game 2. In game 2, he missed the first one, but then the following 2, he got 4 energies.
Good lord.
I couldn't keep up with the tempo. And my opponents sitting next to me were like, dang, that seemed pretty good. I haven't seen that happen before. Yeah. But it was a guy chasing his world invite, so more power to him.
Fair enough, yeah.
Yeah, so that ended the run. It started side events.
Did you win every side event you entered?
The Pokemon Go. We went for the dice. We wanted to get the swag.
Okay.
But deck choices, I definitely felt like if I had to re-choose a deck, I would choose the same deck for that specific meta. It just had a lot of answers to all the top decks, and there was still a huge field of Lost Box. It was like 21% day 1.
Mm-hmm.
I just dodged them for 5 rounds, right? And I was pretty consistently able to set up Espeon and the Arc Mirrors to threaten that huge. What is that? G-Max Psybeam, where it does 68 damage for each energy in play. And yeah, just force them to make a tough decision with their attackers. So felt good. Got the wrong matchups. Definitely should have got more testing in. So I'm super excited to do this podcast. Great minds here, and definitely be ready for next season and chase the world invite.
Yeah, every single one of us will be in Worlds. Otherwise,
Absolutely.
with this band. Yeah.
Yeah, when they put Worlds in Vancouver, we're all driving there.
Yep.
Driving up there.
Easy.
Yeah.
All right, Mr. Stream Boy.
So the deck I chose to play was Arceus Garantina with the Barrel engine, and I added a Zacian V as a tech card. And my game 1, I played against Gardevoir Mewtwo V Union, and that game I went first. Game 1, I attached to Arceus, got my Zacian out with the Nest Ball, got 2 energies off the bat turn 1, and going into the next turn, I attached V-Guard energy, evolved my Arceus V-Star, and started just bossing up his Zacian Vs with a choice belt to one-shot it. And that was pretty much around game 1. In game 2, he started with a Manaphy, couldn't get his Ralts out, and my Arceus just demolished his Curlius.
Arc did Arc things.
Yeah. And then round 2, I played against a Mew VMAX deck. He took game 1. He just hit every Lost Vacuum to bump the paths off the judge. And he took game 1. Game 2, I started off pretty hot. Always getting that double turbo and that Trinity charge to set up my Garantina V to kill his Mew VMAXs with the cleansing gloves. That card was pretty clutch. And then
It seems like the one matchup where it's probably the best.
right, yeah, to hit that 310, kill that Mew VMAX. And then game 3, my opponent path locked himself. Couldn't find those
Classic.
lost
I love
vacuums,
it.
so he just scooped. And then my round 3 matchup, I played against a Lugia, playing that Urshifu, Thornton shenanigans. Game 1, he actually prized all 3 of his Lugia V-Stars.
Let's go. Wow.
Oh my god, it was so unfortunate. So we went to game 2. Game 2, I pulled out the Zacian play again, attaching 2 energies turn 1, and then evolving into the Arceus. Star birthing for that choice belt boss play to kill the T-Tars. And he was just attacking with Lugia, which wasn't doing the job for him, and I just pulled out the W there. Round 4, I played against Arceus Aerodactyl. And in that matchup, it was a pretty easy matchup to win. I just set up both my Garantina V-Stars, and he couldn't really answer back.
Yeah, as long as you don't have an Arceus setup, like, or even just the one, that matchup seems kind of easy for you.
Yeah.
Because he has weakness on Arceus, but then Tina, you're just taking the one shot.
Yeah.
Because does Tina one shot the V-Star Aerodactyl?
It does, but you need choice belt if they have a
You do
V-Guard
need
energy.
the belt. Okay.
And
Did he also run the 4 keys?
He did run the 4 clef keys, yeah. The clef key wasn't really a problem.
Nah.
Yeah, it's not going to matter for that matchup.
But game 5 was when I went to play on stream. I played against Lost Box Kyogre.
So
Dangest
I'm
turn
pretty
one I've
sure
ever seen.
Lost Box Kyogre is probably best deck in format right now. Pretty general consensus. We were on stream and we were watching, and we noticed a specific turn 1 happen. Could you go over what happened on that turn 1?
Yeah, my opponent's turn 1?
Yeah.
Yeah, yours was straightforward. Yours was
yours seems set up, locked in
put
place.
Arceus, I put
Yeah.
energy out. I use this guy. Go ahead.
You had the V-Star in hand. You had everything you needed to get set up and going, but it
Right.
seems like something happened on their turn 1.
Yeah, their turn 1, they had the most beautiful play. They had triple comb fave. They got that off the Battle VIP pass. They had the Colress's experiment that put them at 5 cards in the Lost Zone with the switch cards and switch and stuff. And then,
So with 5, they were able to swing with just the Cramorant and pass, right?
yeah, but they actually had their 4 Seal Stone on their Dragonite V, and they were able to grab the Lost Vacuum from it and Lost Vacuum their own tool card to put them at 7.
1, 3, so it'd be 7 in the Lost Zone.
Yep, and then they just started Mirage Gating. And he just one-shotted
Yeah,
my
the-
Arceus.
Water energy plus Mirage Gate. Just
Yep.
absolutely bonkers.
That was insane.
I
That
think
was disgusting.
that specific 7 is probably so unlikely to open, and you probably showed off a game that's like a 1 in a percentage point possibility of happening.
Yeah. Oh my
I think
god,
I
it's
even
wild.
watched enough to Force Seal. He didn't even grab anything he needed for the combo. It was just like some random other card.
Yeah, it was a card that he wanted to ditch with vacuum.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was
crazy.
that was.
Yeah, he
probably-
literally had it all in hand. Watching it right now.
How
Yeah,
how was
it's
your
insane.
nerves on that stream?
It was pretty nerve wracking at first, but like they took a while to start it, so I was just basically just pretty easy to calm myself down, just pretend it was
Chilled
like
out
a
a little
normal test.
Because you
game.
look, I mean, you kind of always look like you're pretty chill. So it's hard to see like on the stream. You're just kind of like, you know, you look like you normally always do, and on the inside you're screaming.
Yeah, pretty much. I was trying to keep.
So that game 1, I think, was pretty deterministic on that game overall. How'd the rest of that match go?
The rest of the game one, I should have scooped right then and there, but I decided to keep playing, and he definitely took that game.
Gotta be on stream. Gotta get a little more screen time.
Right.
But that is
right.
also an important lesson for sometimes you have to save the clock.
Yeah. And then game two is way closer. I had him go first, so we couldn't do that again.
So did that scare you into having him going second?
No, because I didn't
going
know what he was playing when I won the coin flip, so that's when I chose to go first.
Well, so going into game 2, were you concerned about him repeating that play to make him go first, or was it just because it seemed like the best option?
With the RC's Garantina deck, I feel like that's the best option because you can
Okay.
get the turn 2 Trinity charge off to get more energy acceleration.
Makes sense.
And turn
Yeah, some of the commentators were saying you got scared from that turn 1. You let him go first.
That's just color commentary.
Yeah. Well, it's
But
interesting because I personally think going second isn't correct in that matchup. Because if they get the turn 2 Cramorant, ooh, Sharon, but that also lets you go into the Arceus V-Star quicker.
Yeah.
So that's I can see why. So he doesn't get his Colress first turn, but he's gonna do it next turn anyway.
Yeah,
So
and
just
then most likely he's getting the Mirage Gate second turn if he goes second.
Yeah. So I think there's obviously discussion either way
Pros
for
and
which it
cons.
should have been, but I think in this case it was probably the right line for him to consider,
Exactly.
at least in the hot seat.
And
Yeah.
that game 2 was pretty close. He definitely got the checkmate there with the double Sableye Clara play.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that Lost Box deck got me pretty
So
good.
going
the
at the end
power
of that
of
round,
Lost
that
Box.
puts you into 4-1, right?
Yeah, it put me at 4-1. And then round 6, I played the same Lost Box deck, got my get back, and I beat that guy 2-0.
Let's go.
Nice. Was it a clean 2-0, 6-0, or was it a little bit of a punch?
It was
bit of back
it was
and forth.
definitely a little bit of a punch. I definitely won game 1 by a turn. He couldn't find his
Nice.
Clara for the win. And game 2, he lost zoned his both of his water energy, and his other ones were prize. So he couldn't get going with the Dragonites. I took that game. And then my round 7, I played against... What did I play against? I played against Jackie, the one, the Arctina Mirror.
That name sounds familiar.
That was what
strange.
DJ played
Weird.
earlier. And with that one, I couldn't seem to get my Arceus out fast enough. He always had the arc start, and he had the energy acceleration. And he took that one 2-0.
That's the way the Arceus crumbles.
Yeah, that's the way.
Live by the DTE, die by the DTE.
And I couldn't find my switching cards either. That was always the hard part.
Were they in your list?
Yeah, I played a 1-1 switch
Okay,
line.
just checking.
1 rope, 1 switch. I just couldn't get him out. And he path
V-Star the Arceus V-Star has an ability where if you use his power, you get 2 cards from the deck.
Yeah, I couldn't
It's a pretty
I
good way
couldn't-
to like find the like a switch card or something. You even find like 2 energy.
Yeah, it's any card. It's crazy.
It is pretty crazy, but it doesn't work when you get path locked first.
Oh,
yeah.
yep, that'll do
I
it.
should figure that one out first.
That'll do it.
And so yeah, that was one. Jackie took that set. And then my round 8, I needed to win, but I was playing against another Arcdactyl deck, and he took that one. He took game 1. He killed my Arceus first with his Aerodactyl, and game 2, I managed to knock out his Aerodactyl turn 2 with a DTE choice spell on the Arceus V-Star, and charge up my Garantinas and just started one-shotting his board. But in game 3, he started off really hot, going off of the taking 4 prize cards in 2 turns with the Aerodactyl on my Arceus V-Stars. And then I decided to judge him, and he couldn't retaliate back. And that was when I came back, took 4 prize cards, knocking out his Aerodactyl and his Arceus V. And then there was a play where he brought up Klefki, and I made a silly misplay, and I needed a boss to win the game. And I might have gotten like too excited, and I decided to use the Squovit Nest Stash ability when his Klefki was in the active.
Oh, yikes.
And
2
I
prize
offered him-
penalty.
yeah, it was a double prize penalty, and those were his last 2 prize cards.
Oh,
So that was pretty frustrating.
brutal.
Did he try to stop you or anything while you were like shuffling your hand to the bottom?
When I went to Squovit, I offered him to cut the deck. He was like, no, tap. And then I managed to receive the play. And as soon as I drew the card, he called the judge over.
Yikes.
Oh man.
So I got judge sharked.
Yeah. That's kind of annoying if like, because your opponent could have just been like, yeah, you can't do that, and you would have been fine. But
I think going into a win-and round, it's round 8.
Yeah.
He probably also needs to win to get
yeah,
in.
yeah, exactly.
Sure.
Like,
Yeah.
I get it, but it does suck.
Yeah, it was a silly misplay by me at the end of the day.
You think you
But
could have
yeah.
won the game if that hadn't happened?
Yeah, I would definitely would have won that game. Because I was searching for the boss, and that was the boss I needed to take my last 2 prize cards to win that game. But yeah, that was my regional.
So the moral of the story is it was either day 2 or
DQ.
yeah.
At least we didn't get a hit DQ this time.
I mean, with a 2 prize card penalty, it was kind of
Effectively
like a
DQ. Yeah, no,
Yeah,
DQ.
basically.
It's a DQ.
Really wanted to flip the table there, but kept cool.
You should have just done it. Assert dominance. All right. Well, thank
Just
y'all
back.
for that Fresno recap. We actually had a little bit of a League Cup in our own area. We had, I think, 14 people show up.
Something like that.
I think it was 14. There's 9 Masters total. It's a pretty small cup overall. We had a couple people from out of town come on down. And, oh shoot, I don't remember. Do you remember what their names were? Hold on.
It was Christian
And
and Andrew from Drew Too Many.
Yeah, that's right. We had Christian and Andrew. Andrew being from the podcast Drew Too Many. He won the event with a Arceus Archeops list. I think he went undefeated throughout the rounds. The finals was the Arceus Archeops or Aerodactyl and a Magnezone list
Wow.
that had showed up.
Our very own Jimmy playing Magnezone.
Yep.
Dude, yeah, that was insane.
I had
big.
played tried to play the Arceus Aerodactyl, but I didn't own Aerodactyl, so instead I put in Gudras. And it turns out those aren't very good in the Aerodactyl shell. So I didn't do too well.
Did either of you make cut?
I mean, I was running the event, so no.
Did
I did not.
Eric?
Oh, Eric was working.
Okay.
I unfortunately had to install some workstations at work, so I was not able to make it.
Sure. So,
What would you have played?
Arctura, Umbreon,
Oh,
obviously.
okay, of course.
Yeah, we had a,
Easy call. Easy clap, easy call. I would have took it down and denied Andrew his World's Invite. So
Yeah, he
just-
needed
I'm
11
just
points for
saying
the
that.
World's Invite.
Okay.
He
so
just needed he needed to top.
okay, so
Yeah.
that's pretty good.
So
yeah.
yeah, he had it.
So
regardless.
he got his invite, which was great. Congrats to him. He'll be going to Japan. Great dude, great people, fun event. Papa John.
Also, shout out to Oliver for winning juniors with a record of
I think 0
1
and
and
4.
3.
1 and
It was 1 and 3.
She won a game. Good.
So his one win was a bye.
There you go.
But he was the only junior there. He was the only junior there.
we take this.
Man,
Yep.
I should have sent my
Better be
cousin
lucky
there.
than good. You should have been there. What are you talking about?
Yeah, I should have been there, but I
Yeah, it was
unfortunately.
graduation.
Yeah.
Congratulations,
Hey,
by the way.
let's go.
guys.
Thank you.
Yes,
Congratulations.
congrats.
You stayed awake in class. Good for you.
Yeah, somehow.
Ooh, C's get degrees.
You're not wrong.
All right. So next segment I'd like to go into is our Paldeo bets. This is where I would just like to go around the table and ask everyone what their, not necessarily secret spice or tech, but what they think is kind of like maybe an underappreciated or what'll be kind of a standout card from the latest set. So I'm going to start with the top with Dyson here. What do you think's going to be hot out of this new set?
Ooh, I'm a strong believer in this Chen Pao Excalibur deck.
Really? All right.
That's the deck I'm gonna be building and doing work with.
Like it cold. All right.
That is a deck that people really want to work. I'll put
That's
it that
definitely
way.
something to talk about in the interesting decks online segment. DJ, what are we thinking?
This set has such. It has a lot of potential, like all stars, based on the meta. Right, I think a lot of the stage 2 EXs will have their time to shine, but it's all going to be based off their weaknesses, like physically their weaknesses, for decks to shine. But I'm a firm believer in the grass. Like I've been playing a lot of Meowscarada online, just a straight up Meowscarada with Mew from Celebrations to force out the VIP passes or go digging for the rare candy to consistently get 2-3 Meowscarada set up. And start spreading the energies. Been playing against a lot of Chen Pao on the ladder. I'm on the early stages of the ladder. Yeah, for the longest time, me and Dyson just would use the same PTTO account. Right, there'd be days I was working, he'd compete online, and vice
In
versa.
Minecraft, allegedly.
So yeah, ended up creating my own account, been building some gyms on there, and I've been playing it. And it feels really, really strong against a lot of the V-Star decks, right? Going first and being able to candy out Meowscarada, use Alakazam to move the damage counters up to the Vs and be able to one-shot with a DTE. It seems really strong. And then it also can punish a lot of the setup decks like Gardevoir by targeting their Curlias, getting an attack on board, moving damage around, and really forcing them to get the rare candies. So I'm a Meowscarada fan. I think I'm going to be running that for a while. Even with 151 and the next set coming out, I don't really see anything gravitating my attention. Other than some other cards in this set. But that's my top right now.
Okay, grass believer makes sense. Daniel, what are you thinking?
So right now, I'm really liking the Tinglu. I think being able to shut off the abilities of things like Comphase and Curlias and such is really powerful. I feel like as we move forward, as more EXs are printed, because it doesn't shut off the effects of EXs, it's probably going to get less and less powerful. So I feel like if there's a time to make Tinglu work, now is the time. So that's kind of where I'm at with
Kind
the
of
deck
taking
right now.
advantage of the narrow window it's got right now.
Right.
It's very reminiscent of Landorus EX back in the day, where you did your
Right.
big damage plus snipe, but this just also has the Wobbuffet slash. Was Garbiter in that same format?
I
think
believe it was
I
right
don't think it
before.
was.
Yeah, but you just kind of also staple a Garbodor to it.
Right.
Garbodor. Okay, so speaking up, Eric, what do you think?
There's a lot of cards that are in this set, you know? There's a lot of good cards. There's a lot of bad cards. I think Luxray is going to be something that kind of like permeates through every single deck as a comeback card, as well as the triple energy that goes with it. Because it just one-shots almost everything in Lugia, especially all the Lugias, as a single prize attacker seems extremely powerful. And the problem is it's also really good in Lost Box. The Lost Box just gets good tools.
Yep, classic
Well,
conundrum.
I mean, with that statement, guys, do you guys think like the card design team pay attention to the meta as they're building these
No.
sets and they start answering
Nope.
problem? You don't think so? I felt like
No.
Luxray and Spiritomb coming out. To,
I think there is a series of checklists that they fill in for each set or each kind of like format, because we tend to always see the same types of effects, but we just see them become stronger or attack different axes as the game goes on, right? So like we always have some type of like safeguard effect. We always have some type of item or tool lock effect or a can't be damage effect. And I
Or
think
a
just
discard draw
as
too.
or some kind of draw discard effects.
There must always be a trade-in.
Pretty much, right? Tikaton, hello. So I think the design team is likely just filling in those gaps of the spaces they leave as rotation happens, but I don't necessarily think they put too much effort into here is the meta we want to craft, as opposed to let's make sure these gaps are filled, and then what happens, happens.
well, yeah, the Luxray effect is a very unique effect. Have we seen that before?
Talonflame, I believe.
Well, it's
No,
kind
sorta.
of... It's not quite Talonflame, because Talonflame was when you opened with
Yeah, you
it,
could start
you put
with
it into
that.
play. This is like if it's just in your hand. So we've had
Doesn't
like a
the-
couple. We had a Ludicolo the second Lombre, who was like if you draw it for turn you can play it. There's a
There's
couple
actually
of
one like
those.
Didn't the old Luxray used to have the similar, like you could only play it at a certain point?
The
and it went back to
Luxio.
hand?
Luxio
But
has
that,
a
that was
draw
also when
play
you
it.
draw it as well, yeah.
Yeah. So this is a new type of effect we're playing around with, but I'm not necessarily sure if it is to facilitate a specific deck or meta counter.
Answer.
Yeah.
It feels good against Lugia. I feel like it was
Yeah.
probably like this is good against Lugia. Let's make it.
Yeah, I think the typing and maybe some damage might have been tweaked for like the Lugia card as opposed to the Lugia deck.
Right, as well as it will start to answer those Palkias that are in those Chin Pals, right? Giving you that great answer to answer them too. So I'm excited for Luxray. Eric, that was a good call out. I really like that.
All right, Trenton, what are you thinking?
Alright, so I love playing control. So a couple of cards that stand out to me for
Boo
that
this man.
are Pelipper with the basically VS
Ooh.
Seeker. Could be interesting in the future, and Fortress EX, because I remember the old Miss Magius where you could knock it out and draw till you had 7, and that was really good with cards like Lieutenant Surge,
Mm-hmm.
and so I'm
Yeah,
just
you
hoping
played
we
that in
get.
the Garchomp tag team deck,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
The
exactly.
Garchomp.
So I'm hoping for some new like control-ish type decks like that again.
Do you think the Fortress plays into that, or do you just like Fortress on its own?
I'm trying to hopefully in the future play Fortress in some sort of control way, but I think Fortress can definitely play into control like that with attaching the energies and then Iona, so your opponent has barely any cards.
Well, that's a pretty good segue into Iono. It's obviously not an under like a surprise or a card that people aren't aware of, but I think Iono, despite being popular, will still be my call out because of the impact it's going to have to kind of the Pokemon landscape, like as you play the game. There's been a bit of a period of time without Marnie in the format, or like the N type of effects, and I think coming back into it, we're about to see a pretty drastic shift in how people have to like play the game. So much so that it's my card of choice. Is the fact that like you can no longer hold cards. You need to RCS and use them on the same turn. You can't just shotgun all of your Ultra Balls or Search effects waiting for next turn because Iono's right there and it's always in their hand. So that's my call out. Is I think Iono is going to be good, but way better than I think people are expecting it to be, just because of what it does to actually playing.
Trenton and I played some games the other day, and holy cow, was Iono like insane.
Yeah, it probably added.
Breaking news: Iono is good.
Probably added at least 3 or 4 turns to the end of the game that wouldn't have happened if Iono wasn't a card.
Mm-hmm.
Did you find those 3 or
Just
4
like
turns beneficial?
I don't know if it's necessarily beneficial. I think it is because it makes you have to actually think about certain plays you're doing to conserve resources that you need or make it so you can draw cards near the end of the game somehow.
Yeah, I think something like Iono is what'll facilitate a control-esque deck. Just because, like, I think Lost Box will suffer due to Iono. Even if your deck isn't designed to like counter Lost Box, the fact that you're resetting into 4 and Lost Box, their only draw engine is however many comfies they can put into play, means they're gonna like suffer some pretty serious setbacks for every time you play it. Especially if they were taking a lead. Like if they like had to like play a Marnie, or not a Marnie. Who's the get 2 back, get 2 energy, get 2 Pokemon?
Clara.
Like so, if they Clara and you're able to Iono after they Clara, it's brutal. Because now they're back in the deck, and good luck.
Do you think there will be more Bibarel and Kirlia engines in decks?
I could see a pivot towards it, just because it's a consistency thing. But it also creates weaknesses. Because I know, like, in older formats, even with N, you really... The most you did was stuff like trade-in, or you would just save your search effects. And our search effects nowadays are a little worse than what they were back then. And so I think people will probably try those engines to start, but I think it's also because Pokemon in general are so much stronger, you're going to start seeing like ramifications for it. Like, oh, cool, I'll snipe it. I'll just kill it off. Cool, free prize, thanks. I'll just boss up your Skobit and kill it. Like, so you have to make sure you can take advantage of it in 1 or 2 turns and not just provide free prizes on a platter.
Yeah, I have been playing a little bit with United Wings without Kirlia, and it feels like with a deck like that you almost need Kirlia, because without it at the end of the game with an Iono, it kind of just a lot of the times just shuts you out of the game.
Mm-hmm.
So
Having some kind of draw engine is going to be important, be it you have either a Pokemon effect or just making sure that you have resources in deck that let you continue to get cards. Because right now with like Lugia, they just shotgun everything. They just play their whole hand on the table.
Yeah, we're going to be back into playing conservatively, which is not something we've done for a long time.
Does this card save Pokemon? I guess is the whole online meme that's been going around.
Does Iono save Pokemon?
There was a lot of times when I would get an N played against me, and I would be like, I hate Pokemon. Pokemon stinking sucks. So, at the same time, though, like, Pokemon were worse, and it was harder to get things set up. So, maybe... I think I will see a lot more situations where the game is going to live or die on, and I don't mean the game in general, like whatever game you're playing, you get Iono'd. It'll live or die on the 4 you hit and what you've already established, which, I mean, was the same back then. But nowadays, it's a little easier, I think, to recover from. But is it healthy for a game to be able to always have that kind of, like, maybe I'll win if you just don't hit your pieces. Kind of like Judge, but, you know, judging down to 2 is way more efficient than judging. Like, Roxanne. I mean, we had Iona's effect with Roseanne, right? Roxanne.
Yeah.
And that card's crazy. Everyone runs one of those. So if you can have 4 of them, and it's active whenever, like, sheesh. So does it save Pokemon? Probably not. Does it kill Pokemon? Probably not.
I don't think it's that drastic of a card.
No.
It's
Is
a
it
good
now
card.
in Pokemon? Definitely.
Yeah, legally it's a card. But it's just gonna make decks that rely on like having random piles of cards, like kind of the Arc Dura Umbreon list, or like the Arc Dura Vulpix, like all of these like just pile of card decks.
Yeah, the
that
one
rely
ones
on a
with,
lot
like,
of
50
tutor
trainers.
and like a lot of like just kind of drawing cards naturally. That's where Iono, Judge, it hurts.
Mm-hmm.
Especially because we didn't have Path back then. The only way you could lock out was with a Pokemon. So, like, is, like, Path Iono with Judge as a backup for it going to be, like, even stronger than what N was before? Maybe.
And we already have Judge Pass. We effectively can kind of see what it already was. And it is good enough to win events. Like, Mew, just Unga Bunga, Smash, Judge Path, Go. Is very clearly a good deck.
All right, so moving right along, I'd like to go into a segment called Bug of the Week. This is where I'd like anyone to present a bug they found on Pokemon Live, be it in person or just like on Twitter, that they thought was really funny. And I'm going to start because I'm going to rant on mine. I was working on a list of Gardevoir with some tech, some spice in it, but one of the spices was Golurk. Golurk V has a 4-cost attack that does 180 and de-evolves a Pokemon as part of the attack, which is really strong, especially if Mew is popular, because it auto one-shots the base level Mew. However, that attack doesn't work. It does nothing on live. You play the attack, they go, haha, draw a card, and knock you out with their VMAX. It has lost me multiple games, and it is incredibly frustrating.
They're trying to tell you not to play the bad deck.
It's not a bad deck. It's really, really good. There's so many cool things you can do with that deck. People don't know the spice yet, but it works. Trust me, it's really good. Buy your Thorntons now. Anyone else got a fun one?
I was playing a game earlier wherein my opponent, I believe they pennied, and the game just froze.
Oh.
I sat there for 20 minutes till their clock ran out, and nothing happened.
Yeah,
Like it didn't give you the win, it just timed out?
Nope. It said waiting for opponent to make an action or whatever.
It's pretty
Didn't
sweet.
even time out. It just sat there at 0.
Yeah,
That's a good one.
The one I'd like to present is sometimes when you. So I don't know if you guys use like Hollow Energy in the online game, but
Oh, yeah.
I have the Hobby League stuff, so yeah, I've seen this.
if you play a certain card and then you look at your energy, a lot of times it'll be like the last card you played or a card on your field will show up in like the background of the energy.
What?
And
Not
Yeah.
gonna lie, we should keep that as a feature.
yeah,
I wish.
it does look really cool, and it's not necessarily a game-breaking bug. It's just interesting bug.
It brings back the Heart Gold Soul Silver energy with the Pokemon in the background.
Exactly.
It's like that energy.
Yeah.
Classic.
I want to know how that even, like, I can get some of the other ones where it's like, oh, this just doesn't work here. Or,
It's a rendering problem.
right.
They render the foiling differently, or like it doesn't render. It renders on a specific frame, and it's not happening when you pull up an energy, or it's not like unloading the previous foil.
So I think the big one that's been running around recently is Gardevoir you just can't play right now on live. I believe the specifics is if you shuffle back any Pokemon, those Pokemon can then no longer be attached to by Gardevoir. Which means don't discard your Zacians on live because then you cannot put any energy onto them.
Sometimes you
Yeah.
can, but
It's
sometimes
so
Inconsistent.
weird.
yeah. Also,
Like,
if you play Temple of Sinnoh and Reversal Energy, the game also just freezes.
Oh, well, all right.
So,
How does that work?
well, if you have Reversal Energy in play and you play Temple of Sinnoh, it's just your turn just freezes and it just passes to your opponent.
Out of beta, by the way.
Yeah,
Full
out of
launch
beta
as
live.
of 5 days ago.
Yep, it's great.
Finished product.
All right, well, that's the bug of the week. Bugs of the week, as I guess I should say. So into the last segment, I was curious if anyone had any interesting lines or decks they've been thinking about going into this new format, or even ones they had in the last one. I'll start. Okay,
Oh.
so take normal Gardevoir, right? Drop 4 cards. Add in a single copy of Thornton, a Pawniard, King Gambit, and a Golurk V. And with a belt, your King Gambit, your Golurk V will knock out every single V Pokemon and de-evolve it to give them a dead card in hand. Plus, with the new energy, was it Jet Energy?
No, it's the Luminous.
Luminous Energy, you could preload up a Curlia, Thornton it away into a Pawniard, manual attach the Luminous, evolve into the King Gambit, and it's a one-shot on Mew VMAXs.
For 4 cards.
All you gotta do is add 4 cards. The only cards you need to keep in your hand for
And
this
have
to
them in your
work.
hand.
Well, you only need the King Gambit and the Thornton, technically,
And the
with a
rare
rare
candy.
candy. That's only 3 cards.
And the Pawniard.
What does King
and the
Gambit
energy
do?
card.
Pawniard's in the discard.
And the energy.
If you want to go with the attacking route, you don't necessarily need to do that.
What does the King Gambit do?
It
All
makes
of your
your basic
basics do 30 more damage.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a belt without all the efficiency of being a Pokemon tool.
It's a Pokemon. That's
The
a
stage
belt.
2 belt.
It's a Pokemon, comma tool.
No, that's a Klefki.
You're
True.
not, yeah.
Well, that's my tech at least. Anyone got another one?
The Graphite deck seems pretty fun. It's not very good, mind you, but it's fun.
So Graphite, that's the new stage 1. 90
I call it
HP.
Skittles.
Skittles, that's a good one. For a darkness, spits poison, makes them just poison them, pretty straightforward. For a single dark, it's 40x, and X is the number of different basic energies you discard from your hand for that attack.
So for the last segment here, I kind of want to have like a little bit of a hot take segment. A lot of people are saying a lot of cool ideas or thought processes are going to come up with this new format. Maybe some new decks or some new cards they think are going to show up. Who's got some hot takes for not any of that happening? Because I know I've got one. And I'll start. With the opposite of hot, cold. I think the Braxian deck is going to flop.
Baxcalibur deck.
Yeah, I think Baxcalibur is going to flop. You are effectively putting yourself into a worse Gardevoir shell that is more susceptible to the judges and the Ionos. The reason being, with Gardevoir, you're attaching from discard and establishing a game plan throughout. Whereas with something like the Baxcalibur, you have to always have the energies in hand, and if you lose them from play, good luck. Because if you get Iono'd, good luck powering up.
The Chien-Pao searches 2 every turn.
Yep, easy.
2 to hand.
Yeah.
Easy.
If it's in the
Okay,
active.
so you'll have multiple of the Shen-Paos. You'll hopefully get like what, 4, maybe 6 energy a turn.
No,
Not
you
terrible.
probably get 2.
You'll probably get 2, right?
The idea is like, yeah, the deck on paper, people want it to be good because it's not just every other deck. It's something new. It's something powerful. It does
It's Rain
something
Dance.
interesting. It's Rain Dance. Everyone loves Deluge. Everyone loves Blastoise. Everyone loves Sacred Sword because that was, XY was a super cool, awesome format. Don't fact check that. But like it's basically Gardevoir, but you're playing from deck in hand versus discard, which is infinitely harder because discard is not nearly as random as deck in hand is. Plus, you have to get a stage 2 in play that turns on your entire deck. Whereas with Gardevoir, not nearly as big of a deal. You can just use your Curlius and get going, but you're playing a stage 1 of the Arctibax, where it just does nothing.
So
Yeah, you don't have
hear
the
me out.
built-in
There's
draw
this-
engine.
There's this really cool supporter called Irida that gets you a water Pokemon and an item card.
There are some fantastic water supporters. No question. 100% agreed.
No, it's just Irida.
Yep. Yeah, it's just
Water
there it is, isn't
supporter.
it?
It's exclusively Irida.
The single water supporter is really good. But
Baxcalibur Rare Candy, let's go!
Let's go.
We got any hot takes before we close it out?
My semi-hot take has got to be that Luminous Energy is worse than Aurora and Rainbow Energy.
All right, thanks everyone for listening. This has been the. No, I was.
it was a bit.
I was making a bit.
Okay.
Just
Yeah,
cutting
you're
them
good.
off. I
keep
don't think
going.
you're wrong per se, because unconditional rainbow energy is better than a conditional rainbow energy. Like,
But with no other rainbow energy
Yeah,
Is it
I mean,
in play or on the Pokemon?
on the Pokemon.
Okay.
Yeah, I think if it said it couldn't have like more than one like luminous energy, that'd be good. But any other special energy makes it a lot worse. I feel like.
Yeah, you can't like double turbo and luminous.
Yeah.
It's where my favorite fiery boy comes in.
I mean, to be fair, they had to balance around Archeops being a thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
do I have a hot take? Let's see.
It's not that hot if you can't think of it on the spot. Right?
Yeah, it's kind of tricky because it's like what hasn't already been said, right?
Right.
In terms of hot takes, like Lost Box, is it too good? Maybe, probably. That'd be kind of
I think that's a
a
pretty
little bit of
hot
a hot
take.
take. Like, should Pokemon be banning cards in this format?
Is your hot take that they should?
Probably, yeah.
I mean,
Battle
when was the
VIP
last time we
pass?
had a
Get it outta
standard
here.
a standard ban. Like a long time.
Islander Charm back in Sun Moon.
That was expanded.
That was expanded.
That was only expanded. What was the last standard ban?
Wasn't there like a Shiftry card that like?
I feel like there was some not a long time ago.
I feel like there was one in the Sun and Moon era.
Yeah.
I mean, Lysander's trump card was banned way after that,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
And then was Force of Giant Plants ever banned?
Not in the standard, I don't believe.
Non-standard.
So I think it was Lysander's trump card was the last one in standard banned.
All right, we got anything else?
I think that's just about it, yeah?
Okay. Thanks everyone for listening to the first episode of Mildly Competitive. Hopefully, first of many to come. Maybe that'll serve as a pretty good intro point on what we want to do and how we're going to approach this thing. God, I'm terrible at ending stuff.
And then it cuts to black.
Yeah, that's probably pretty good there. We can stop it right there.